Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you the top 10 most insane Ark Tames because I just love them so much. So in at the number 10 spot I've decided to put the Astrodelfus, as I find this is just a really effective traveller to get around the map, and I really do like it for all of its element of speed. It really does have a lot going for it in that aspect. As you know, a creature like this and a Tropiognathus, that's another creature which I quite like, following the similar niche to this creature, because they both travel with insane speed. But I just prefer the Astrodelfus just from an ability perspective, and getting element is so easy on a map like Gen 2. It really isn't that expensive to do, and I just love the creature. And I also find the tame methods a little bit simpler as well. I know it's not the easiest out there, but I don't really like to chain bowler the Tropiognathus. It's just a little bit of a pain in my opinion what you sort of have to do. I think you have to cast bolt at it. It's not as simple just trank out. So in that regard I do prefer the tame methods of the Astrodelfus, which is usually why I go for it instead. Yeah, it's saddles unlocked at a later level and technically it runs on more expensive things, but I find it attacks very effectively and it travels at the speed of just insane speeds, really. Coming up next on the list we have got the Baryonyx, and I really do love this as a creature. It just has so much capability when it comes to everything. It can pick up a huge variety of mounts that you'll find across the map, from Rexes to Parasauritheriums and creatures like that. It's honestly insane what this can do in that department. You really wouldn't expect it, especially from a creature of this size, because there are some bigger flyers out there that still can't carry as much as this thing. Although maybe not my favorite tame, as it seems a little bit unbalanced in my opinion, I still really do love this thing, and it is, although an insane one, maybe not quite the one for me, which is why it's only going higher on the list. But I still really do like this creature. I don't want to be like, oh well, I don't really like this creature at all, because that just simply wouldn't be the truth. I really like this creature for all the elements that it offers, especially in its traveling capabilities. Its weight is great, its damage dealing is great too, and I really do attribute it for that. It does a very great job of it, and generally it is just a great mount to have around, and the tame method isn't too difficult. Coming up next I've decided to put the Therizinosaurus, as this really is the most insane fiber gatherer out there for me. I love the fiber gathering that this creature offers, and of course its saddle was unlocked at level 69.
Nice.
On top of all of that too, it is a great combat mount, and it doesn't just gather fiber as well. It is great at wood and thatch, and also any kind of natural material that you'd find of creatures like chitin, keratin, hide, and any sort of meat, as it can actually gather those, which can't be said about quite a lot of herbivores in the game. Obviously the moss chops is a great shout as well, but I feel like this is an upgraded one, although the organic poly farming isn't quite as good as on one of those. But I really do like this creature, especially if you're going for the dragon on the island as well. Strongly recommend these things, as the dragon has a particular disadvantage to herbivores, as it deals a lot of damage to carnivores with its fire breath attack, but not to those herbivores out there. In at number 7 I simply have to put the Crystal Wyvern, as I really do find this a very effective mount, and especially considering how easy it is to get this thing, at least for me, I really do think it deserves a spot. Yes, it is behind a level 60 cap, and you do need to knock out one of these Crystal Wyverns to get the Primal Crystal, but with a net gun it is ridiculously simple, and with a note run that level 60 is no problem whatsoever, unless you're playing on official. But I'm not one of those official players, and I think most people out there aren't really playing on official. Still like a little bit of a grind, probably about 2.5x is as high as I'll really go, which is basically just default single player settings. It really is not too difficult to get this tame, and you get that full Wyvern experience with, in my opinion, better elemental abilities, which is why I really like this as an Ark creature. I find the Blood Crystal Wyvern is a favourite of mine. That ability that it has is just so much nicer than any fire breath or lightning breath or poison or ice or anything like that. And I've also heard the embers are quite popular among loads of you in the comments below as well, and that is a very splendid one too. Of course this is a tropical one here because it sort of looks the most crystally. I think it's the nicest for the B-roll. Coming in next we have got the Bloodstalker, and this is my all-time favourite underwater travel mount. I really haven't found anything better to do this same job. I just find it does just such a good job for what it is in terms of underwater travel. It is my favourite out there, and of course it is just a great travel mount all round too. But why is it so good underwater? Well, firstly, it can skate along the top of that, which is really just going to benefit it generally if it's trying to get out of some very sticky and dangerous situations. You can see all the aggros of the creatures, very nice in a not very visible environment such as the deep ocean, because really you can't really see down there at all. If you also have the scuba mask on, that kind of limits your field of view more than you'd probably want. And they actually deal a pretty reasonable amount of damage and are very mobile and sort of acrobatic in a way in the water. Same as on land too, I find they really do work effectively for land travel as well. That is sort of what they're more designed to do, but they definitely were designed with the underwater biome in mind, as it's the only real travel mount out there on Genesis Part 1, so considering there was an ocean biome on it, it really was made for all of those maps, and that's why it's such a good underwater traveller. In at number 5, I've decided to put the Baryonyx, as I really do find this an effective caving mount, and it's insane how easily you can get this creature, and also just generally how early on. I really have no idea when the saddle is actually unlocked for this thing, but I'm confident pre-level like 50 or at least pre-level 60 definitely for sure. With a note run you can easily get up to the level of this thing in, you know, a matter of like maybe half an hour even, or less than that. Note runs are really OP. And then you can head to the swamp biome. I've heard on ASA you can also just head to any rivers because the spawns are a little bit bugged. I don't know if that's intentional or not on the island, and you can find them there, but I would go for the swamp biome just as a general. And if you can find one on the outskirts too that's a high level, that is really going to benefit you. And if you can find one just in a random river somewhere, that is also generally just going to benefit you. They're great cavers because of their size and the fact that they are very mobile. They can jump around and they can deal quite a heck of a lot of damage, and their health is obviously good enough to withstand all of the creatures that you'll find in the cave. They're also great as an underwater caving mount too, due to their great swimming abilities and that stun attack, which they of course have, which can stun creatures up to the size of a megalodon. Honestly, great tames, and if you haven't tamed one already, it's a must-have. Coming in next, we have got the Reaper, and really, would it be a list like this? Sorry, I don't know why I'm confused with that word for a second. Without the Reaper actually being on here, the King of Ab. There really is little better than it in terms of integrating itself into a map so well, and just with such a crazy cool design that I think we all really do know and love. It is stood the test of time for sure, and I'm still using these things quite frequently, even on maps that aren't Ab, because they are just insane killers of so many things. It's like the Giga on steroids essentially. The Argentavis is a great shout too, but I'm still really enjoying this thing, and I have been really enjoying this thing ever since it came out. I've only really tamed it on Ab as well, although I have done a bit on Gen 2 if I want to just get one quickly, and also if I want an R Reaper, then I'll use that Raasclark method that he has. It's a really great video if you haven't checked it out already, and if you want a Reaper easily, I would recommend that. But if you never tamed one before, go on Ab and tame one the original way, like we always do it back in the day. It is far more rewarding in my opinion, and then once you get one you feel like the absolute king of the world. Their model design is insane. They're basically just a xenomorph from Aliens, and yeah, they are really, really cool. In number 3, I simply have to put the RG, as this is just such an effective mount for all things metal gathering. And although it's maybe sort of seems a little bit weird to put it above the Reaper, but honestly this creature has done a lot for me, and it is insane. Again, just this creature is so great. Its saddle was unlocked in the mid 60s. I don't think it's quite that perfect 69, it might be like 68 or something, just out of that perfect range of course. And they are great flyers and great resource transporters, you could say. With their insane weight reduction on metal, crystal, and obsidian, it's 50% at least. I'm pretty sure it's 50%, but I might have to check on that. But again, confident with that. They can pick up a wealth of creatures too. With an Anki and a Dodix, you really can farm like any resource that a pick or hatchet could farm. It's sort of insane really what you can get out of the use case of these things. They can also pick a secondary creature up in their beak. Their saddle acts as portal smithy, so if you've gone caving and an arse maybe broken your armor, as long as you've got some metal in the saddle of this thing, you can repair your armor and go to the next cave, and you don't even have to go back to your base. At least that's what I do when I do caving. That's just the thing I do, I guess. The regen buff, which they also have, always does come in handy in my opinion. If you are due to low, then you could simply kill something like a dodo or a listro, and boom, you eat that thing and you get so much regen. It is honestly a godsend. In at number 2, we have got the Maewing. This is really my favourite traveller out there, and honestly insane that its saddle is unlocked at level 18. You really can't find anything better than this at the level that you're getting it at, and really just better than it in general across the whole game, which really does home in the fact that the saddle was unlocked at level 18. It's insane. I would get to a level of where you can get some signs and obviously trank arrows, which is level 21 for those, so be about level 21. I'm not sure actually when these signs are unlocked, but either way, getting there is very simple, and the taming method is very simple. Use a couple of signs, I think like 3 should suffice to trap it in an area and it won't be able to fly out of them, and trank it out, as long as you build the trap right of course, otherwise it will be able to get out of it. So make sure they're reasonably close together and that it can't walk out of that area. You're going to have to act quite quickly as well, but it really isn't too difficult, at least from what I found. And then you've got yourself a Maewing like that, boom. You can even start with a really high level, they don't take too many turns to knock out. You've got yourself the best, like fastest pretty much travel mount in the game. They also act as a portal feeding trough, they can gather berries too, and are reasonable swimmers as well, so they really do have a lot going for them. Insane their saddle was unlocked at level 18, it's honestly amazing. And in number 1, we've got the Deinonychus. This really does have to top my list. I can't really think of anything that is more insane than this creature, just for all of my general needs. While yes, maybe it doesn't fulfill those underwater needs, the Shadowmane would be a good shout there. I'll give it a brief honorable mention. Don't want any comments about I didn't include the Shadowmane on the list. It gets an honorable mention here, okay? Maybe it should have been on the list in my opinion, in a way, but you know, it's being left out because I think all these creatures are more valuable to me, at least at the moment. The Deinonychus though really is a king when it comes to boss fights, able to deal bleed damage to them as well by just grappling onto them, like you can see I'm doing to that Bronto there, and just absolutely shredding them. Especially considering they have the pack buff on top of this too, there really is nothing which can go wrong. The boss fights will take barely any time whatsoever, unless there's a certain mini game to it, like the Gen 1 boss fights, which might not be the best fight to bring these things in, as their health can sometimes be not the best for the longer fights. But as long as you have some health mutations on these things, I think you should be fine, and I've done it with Dines before, so it is definitely very possible. That is on Alpha as well, I should specify, not just the puny Gamma fight, but all the way up to the Alpha. I did all of them. I've also done the Gamma fight with Carnos as well, but I find they don't really work as well when you get up into the higher tiers of that boss. You're not going to be using these things for the Moda, but that's just generally obvious, isn't it? They're great parkour gods too, and they take no fall damage. How you tame one, you go to the Chalk Cliffs biome and you steal an egg out of a Dine nest, and then boom, you've got yourself that Dine baby. Once you hatched it, then you're going to raise it. If you get a good breeding pair, you're all set. But anyway, that is the end of today's video. I really hope that you all did enjoy, as I definitely very much did enjoy making this one. As always, comment down below what is the most insane Ark Tames to you, and if you didn't agree with this list, then put your 10 in the comments below, and I know you watched the video to the end. I'll see you all later.